Ah, just as we went live as well. Oh, he can't see us at the minute, but he will.
There he goes.
Ha, 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 ha. But I can't hear you, Bob.
Self-isolated.
I can't hear you though, Bob. Can't hear you. Let me see if I get him in a chat thing going on. He's connected. Can't hear you. So we are live, and people will be able to hear us, Martin. So for people that are on the call or viewing on Facebook or YouTube, yeah, we do have a technical problem with one of the our participants, the one at the top right hand side.
Blame that guy there. Okay? You trying to make Bob take the blame. Blame him. Because he's the technical guy. We don't have any technical information here today.
We done a test with Bob earlier on today. Bob, I don't know if you're muted. I don't know if your microphone's muted. Maybe in the application itself your mic might be muted, but we can't hear you if you can hear us. We definitely can't. We can't hear you.
If maybe it was like me, I don't know if you've got earphones in, Bob, but the last time I plugged mine in, because we don't have the fly jiggy headset like Rupert there,
yeah,
it messed up my mic.
Well, he was on Bluetooth, so maybe Bob, just disconnect your Bluetooth and we'll just just use your laptop as you did earlier in the earlier test. So we're still not able, or maybe if you just drop off the call and jump back in. So if you hang up the call and then come back into the call. Excellent.
This is riveting TV, guys. I mean, tune into this every day.
Yeah.
There's not more I'd like to see than three bald guys talking.
Listen, don't talk about bald. I'm not. I got a header here. I just cut mine down.
You're all big life over there, man.
Oh Lord. So yeah, but and this is what happens sometimes. I mean, of course.
This is it, man. This is
Yeah.
What do they call it? Teething problems.
Yes, we
Starting
do.
off, but we get there.
Yeah, and after us, so we're due to talk for about 15 minutes or so, and then we have Chris Hughes. We got Chris Hughes after, who and he says he can hear. He can hear both of us, so that's great. And Chris Hughes is from Rebound, and I don't know if you know Rebound, but this is your stats guy. I mean, I'm sure, of course there's many,
Okay.
but he's a fan of the whole kind of Solent Kestrels movement. Call it that.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about Rebound then.
So I don't know too much, but I know a little bit about him because Chris he's done commentary on a couple of occasions, and they were solo on the Upstreamedia streaming platform, where the first one was when Thames Valley Cavaliers played Solent, so a home game for us at Uxbridge, and he done the commentary of that, if I remember correctly, and then he came back in March, and I think it may have been Loughborough. I can't quite remember. He done the commentary on that also, but yeah, and he's really like yourself, proactive, putting stuff out, saying this is where I am, this is what I'm doing. So I'm blessed to have you guys. Assisting.
I mean, it's good to go. Have you got a name for this show yet?
You've got a name for the show.
What is it still Talking Reckless?
Talking Reckless is what you call it.
Or Real Talk Basketball. That's what. Actually, I spoke with Malcolm Lee today.
Yeah.
Who hopefully will get on the platform. As I said, the week before it gets banned. Now, he was saying we want something Real Talk Basketball, but
yeah,
I guess it's a title in working.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a free-spirited thing. I mean, what's upon us is not something that we predicted or calculated. So we're just making this adjustment, and here we are, just talking in the safety of our home, not being at work because we can't be. For most of us, we have to work from home, and just making it happen, and
well,
that's what it's all
I
about.
think it's cool because I think it's a great chance to get
Yeah,
some different views
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
And already, man, you got Bob on the line
I
tonight.
can see Bob moving.
I don't even want to be on it. I want to be tuning in, listening.
So
To
can
hear
we
my annoying voice.
can we
I wanna
hear Bob?
what Bob got to say today. I don't know.
Oh no, we can't hear Bob. We can't hear Bob, which is hey, where are you?
Sorry.
We can't hear Bob at all. So that is that's
Maybe it's in the sound settings.
Yeah,
Is that-
we tested fine with him today, but I think he may have gone onto another device, and so that's where we were. So the things that we kind of highlighted earlier that was he was keen to raise was over to you. What were they?
Well, the brief we got today was a couple of things. So
Yeah,
let's start with the first one.
yeah,
So this year, someone in their extreme wisdom of England basketball decided that conference teams will no longer enter the playoffs. So, I mean, the season didn't even finish, and there's no play, so it's a bit of a moot point.
yeah.
But I think this was a very, very bad decision. And I don't know who came up with it and why they came up with it. So, for example, I coach for the Bracknell Cobras, and our team, the under-16 team, had 2 more games left in the season with the potential of winning. And I think what happens normally is the top teams of each conference league with the first runner-up out of the 3 conference leagues get entered into the playoffs. Now, I'll tell you right now, their conference teams can beat Prem teams. And also, I don't know, they're saying, I don't know what they're doing, saving 1 week's worth of basketball. So what was the reasoning behind it? And I'd love someone to come on to give me a reason, because the kids could play the whole season, finish it, and then we're done. Or we've won our little league.
Yeah.
We want to test against the rest, right? And I think maybe it comes down to there's a vested interest in the Premier League teams to maintain their Prem status and not get embarrassed by some Conference League teams. Because, for example, where we stand, and I don't know if it's the same with Thames Valley, and Bob may be able to attest to this, but last year we had an under-14 team that went 18-0. Yet this year, our under-14 team, who were all younger players, got put up to Prem. But that team, who all moved into under-16s, couldn't be put into Prem because the last 16 team didn't win the league.
Yeah.
Even though you've got a group of players coming up who should be playing at a higher level.
Yeah.
In my mind. Otherwise, it's sort of like, all right, one season you adapt to the league, the next season maybe you can win it because you're the older level of players because there's only 2 years within. But the reality is you should have something to strive for. And there are only a certain amount of Premier League teams around, and guys ain't trying to travel left, right and centre at this age. Who's going to get, we do enough work as it is as parents. You know that, Rupert.
Aye.
What, I'm going to have to take the kid to Manchester to play or wherever it is. And maybe I've come up with, so I think there are enough teams, there are certain rules for them to go into Prem, whatever. But that, I think, was a very short-sighted idea. And I want to know what was behind the thinking of it. Maybe you've got an idea of why this was done.
Well, you see, I remember years ago something like that happened. I'm not saying that this is a concern, but I remember the club, I think it was Islington Panthers, and my eldest was playing for Reading at the time, and they played Panthers. It was like maybe in the last 8 of the National Cup under 18s or something like that. And let me tell you, that was an absolute shocker. There was such a outstanding, athletic, well-drilled team that, Reading nearly got it unseated. In the end, Reading went through to the finals and met Manchester in the finals, up in Manchester, and Manchester won. But I'm not saying that, this is the reason why that and Panthers was a conference team, right? And I'm not saying that this is the fear that they have, because there's nothing to fear. Because if you're a conference team that can unseat a Premier team, hey, that's that's all good for me. It's just about the best team being in the environment to compete. But I remember asking the question at the time: how was it that the Islington Panthers wasn't like in the Premier? And it's personal circumstances sometimes, and I think that was the case for them. The amount of travelling, as you mentioned, that you would have to do up and down the country, where, if you're volunteering, running a club, and you have a family, for example, that's quite a big toll on your personal circumstance, let alone with the players going up and down the country. And that's why, playing in conference might be preferable for some teams.
Are you able to hear me now?
Hey, we got Master Bob.
Oh, Bob's in the building. There we go.
Yeah, so Bob,
only 10 reboots. I got there.
Excellent. So Bob, you probably heard some of what Martin was saying, and their questions that you raised about the whole kind of conference team and not having the conference and not having been in the playoffs, or not having a playoff position. So you might have something to add to that.
Yeah, I'm in Martin's camp because I don't understand the logic that went behind. The only logic that I could think of is they're trying to force all the better teams to get into Prim. Unfortunately, what they need to do is to talk to some of the better teams who elected not to go to Prim to understand why. I think if you understand that, you will understand that trying to force them into Prim just so they can go to the playoffs is never going to work. For example, if you look at our team, we've been conference for the last number of years, and the number one reason that we're in conference is what you were saying, accessibility to get the games, because Prim is obviously a much longer distance. The cost involved in that is also another dilemma. The thing that we have is we normally start a young team and an inexperienced team with a few very experienced players that pitch in. To challenge the experienced players, we always try to play them up into one of the men's teams to give them the level of competition that they need. But by forcing teams up, that's not going to change the reality that you're unable to get parents to spend an entire Saturday making a drive to a game, or you're unable to make the funding work to where you can afford to have team transportation for players. If I look at our club, we were in a unique situation as well, that we had a lot of kids in grammar school, which ultimately meant that they could only train 1 day a week, sometimes 1.5, because their academics, and this is their call, their choice, and their choice on how they want to raise their kids. And they're not able to train more than 1.5 times a week, and that's it. And there's nothing that any organization is going to do or change that.
Yeah, I totally get that.
But at the same time, we're in a situation where now, I believe, in order to go to the Prem, if you did want to go, you need to win the league. So normally what happens in any of these leagues is you have a younger age playing against an older set. So let's say under 16s, for example, guys who are coming to be 16 are normally a bit more experienced and more than often will have the advantage in that league. So they could win it and go through. But the next year, that team wanting to come up to Prem are younger players. So it should be, if anything, the players who win at the under 14 level then get the opportunity to go into the Prem under 60. Now, to give them an opportunity to play against players, because at that first year, a lot of the time, which we found, you start playing in conference if you're one of the better teams, and the level, some of the teams you're playing against is not even a challenge. So then suddenly, when you do get into the playoffs, we were in there last year at under 14s, the level of competition and just the level of intensity in the games raises. But you haven't been used to it, because it's one thing, you come out and you're just a lot better than the team you're playing. You learn nothing from that. So I do get some of the idea of where they want your program to be at the level where it's developing a lot of players. But some of us aren't in central London. If I'm in central London, I've got 6'9" guys walking in the door every day. I can get good program going. We are here in sticks sometimes, trying to do what we can with what we got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
for example, this is quite personal to me because I have a group of players who are all 2004, 2005 born, and they're very dedicated, very committed. Now, I'm in a situation where I don't know what's going to happen with the league this year, and I think we're going to touch on it a little bit later. But if next year they're not playing Prem, they're kind of wasting their time. Because this year they were the youngest level in under 16, and depending how the last two games of the season turned out, we haven't lost since November. They could have won the league, but most of the players are coming back next year. And most of the teams who are high in the league, they're all older players who go up. So what, they're going to come next year and beat up on some young guys?
Yes.
When we see tomorrow what's going to happen with the league, they may have to get sent down.
Well,
What do we do?
that's where there's the disconnect in the team. I agree with Martin. I agree with you. You have to win to get to the next level, but you win and you go up. But gosh, you get a year older and you're still back in conference. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
So in terms of where we are, so that's the playoff situation. But we also have a situation where we're going to have some results in terms where teams are placed. So for example, like Bob with Thames Valley, they maybe played less games than anyone else, but have only lost one game in the league. There's a bit of a concern about where they might be placed in terms of where they finish. Not that there's, in the greater scheme of things, there's a lot of value to it, but it's still worthy.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, it's one of the limits. It's no fault to our own. I mean, we were sitting in our sports hall while we get a call from a team who basically tells us that they're snowed in and the team is 15 minutes from the house that I drove from that morning. So, at some given point in time, you can't hold that against the boys.
Yeah.
Our team was there. I was there. My other coach, who was even closer to where the other team was based, also was there, but the other team doesn't come. And, you've got two choices. You could force the team to forfeit, which I think would be unfair, or reschedule the game. You try to reschedule the game and you never get it rescheduled. The next thing, season was unfortunately canceled to circumstances beyond everyone's control.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting, how that plays out tomorrow. What's your take on that, Martin?
Man, it's killing me because I was ready. The last 2 weeks of the season, we had 2 games against the 2 other teams top of the league for all the marbles. That's what you come to play for. Now, I can't factor in what coronavirus did, so I didn't factor that into my preseason game plan. But what's the decision? Yeah. We stop here. There's no forensic accountant looking into who's doing what with the scores, blah, 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 because I would say we have the longest winning streak in our league. All the other teams have lost. We lost the game in November. We got robbed on, but that's another matter. And since then,
fire.
Since then, we haven't lost.
Yeah.
And the team who we're going to play against, the last game of the season, we lost to them the first game of the season, and they were a more experienced team. We came in there on some old, but our team got better and better. Whatever. I don't know what they're going to decide to. And to be honest with you, it's a tough thing to do. But I'm ready with lodging letters, whatever it may take. Because my big thing is I want these boys, who most of them, I'd say about 75% of our team are returning next year. Most of them are major players in the team. I'm just making a case that they have to play Prem next year. Because I'm being honest, and my son plays on my team. But if by next year they don't go Prem, I can't have them also playing under 18s conference, they're going to need to go somewhere else. And I don't know, don't let this be too controversial, but I don't know if the powers that be know, okay, these are the set teams. These guys are going to have to go to those teams.
Ooh.
Yes. And I'm not one to stop someone go to any team they want to go to. You know, I ain't for that. Whatever the players want to do, their parents decide, and if they think it's the best for them, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Because it's not about us. It's about what the players think the best way to go is. But at the same time, I think we have a group of, you know, good players. They should get the chance to play against the best players in the league. And Lake, and I was talking to Lake and the Surrey Rams about this too. Maybe they need to have a pre-season tournament or something to see which teams are ready for leagues. Whether they can do that or not, I don't know.
So what's the criteria that decides whether a team is eligible for Premier or not?
I think you have to become #1 in your conference.
Well, it's not so written in stone. And it used to be you had to be #1 in your conference. Right now, you have to apply, and someone in Basketball England has to basically choose you.
There you go. And last year, I applied for under-16s. And I put together, we got the X amount of players in Aspire. We won the league 18-0. No, sorry, we can't do it because the two teams, and our under-16 came third in the league as well. And I don't even know if those two teams went up to Premier. Southwark Legends and Southwark Pride came above us. But they weren't that good a team. But they shut us straight down.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It used to be you had to finish first in the league. In the men's leagues, it's very clear on who gets promoted and who gets relegated. From the rules that I understand them, and I may not understand them, is not as clear in the juniors.
It isn't, because for example, the year before that in our under-14s league, 3 or 4 teams went up to Prem. And I think part of the problem is every year things are changing. And who's making the decision?
And that's set to, that's going to be the case again with you know, the whole kind of virus thing going on right now. You know, it might really change the shape of everything that we do. You know, not just basketball, just the way we do our work and how we live our lives. You know, basketball's definitely going to be, I would imagine, would be affected as well. But let's hope that.
Let me throw a wild card out at you. Do you need a separation between Prem and Conference?
It's a good point.
Yeah. It's
the reason that I asked that question is because one of the big challenges that you have with Prem and Conference is geography. When you go in the Prem, your geography changes dramatically. Suddenly you're dealing with potentially 25% of the country from a travel perspective, which is not achievable for a lot of teams. If you were able to keep the conferences at a smaller number of teams and a closer geography, it could make much more. Clearly, you're going to have a mixture of teams that aren't as good and teams that are good. And there's going to be teams that are bad. But I think it's also a question where you put in the mercy rule, where your other team, you allow other players on your team to get minutes they wouldn't normally get. When you're in that situation, so I'm not sure you need to separate the two.
Just have the conferences run in like its regions, and they have their tournaments within those regions itself, rather than it being national.
I guess. That
would save money.
Yeah.
I know, because this year, for example, at our team, we had an under-14 girls team that was traveling 3 hours to games. You know, someone has to look at these things. Like regularly, they were traveling long distances, Bristols. They're going all over the place, and you know, I guess there was a lot of complaints at the beginning that we need to organise these a bit more regionally, because all these kids, time pressures are so much more nowadays. And the commitment put in, I think, is a lot more. There's so many more things to do. So having it where you have to travel long distances and who makes that travel. It's better to maybe have it in the region like they did when I was playing. That was it. We had a south and a north, and you traveled to just the people who were there. There weren't as many teams. I think they're doing it because most of the England players get picked out in the Premier. I think they're trying to make it like a showcase league. And there's even, a lot of players. The players come to me to think this. If he's not in the Prem, will anybody pay any notice with him for, England trial or something like that? And I think it may be the case. They're told that they have to be on that level.
Yeah.
So then what do? They have to go to the teams that are Prem. In our area, it's only really Reading in the area. Where else can they go?
You got Reading or Solent.
Yeah. So I'm tired of driving there for Aspire, hour away, every week, twice a week. I like that. Their program could be great. It's a long way.
Yeah. When you have other priorities and you have other children, it makes it very difficult. That's why I question: is there a necessity to have Prem and Conference?
I mean, there is an argument for us all playing our part to reduce the carbon footprint too. I mean that. Yeah. Let's face it.
Even if you took the first half of the season, everybody playing regionally. The second half of the season, you could then split each one of the lists and say, okay, these are the top 10 and these are the bottom 10. At least you cut away half of your traffic.
Carry on, Bob.
And that
I think so. Well, we solved that, fellas.
There needs to be a solution. It needs to be a solution that's fair to the players.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I definitely food for thought here. I mean, Bob. It was a last minute thing. We've done a little test, like maybe 10 minutes before we came on stream. You made it. Martin's, once again, we were on yesterday, back on today and tomorrow, and so we should reconvene at some point. And I know Martin's working hard to get a number of other candidates involved. And following this, we're going to have Chris Hughes from Rebound, who's going to, kind of have a little chat with everyone else. So I think we'll end it here for now.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming on. We must do this again. Maybe we'll talk a little bit after as well, Bob, and see how we can take the conversation forward.
It's good to see you all looking healthy. No coughing going on. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep it that way, yeah.
Excellent. All right, speak to you guys soon. All right, thank you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Right.
Did you unmute it?
Apologies, I muted the volume. You should hear me now. Good afternoon. Welcome to Upstreamedia's YouTube page. I'm Chris Hughes. I'm coming to you from Rebound Basketball Blog, and I say thank you for Rupert Charles and Upstreamedia for having me. I'd like to do regular spot promoting British basketball, specifically looking at the NBL Division 1. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, apologies, I muted the volume. You should hear me now. Good afternoon. Welcome to Upstreamedia's YouTube page. I'm Chris Hughes. I'm coming to you from Rebound Basketball Blog, and just testing the volume. Is the volume better now, or is that still quite high? That's okay. So as I was saying, I'm from Rebound Basketball Blog, and I'll be talking about British basketball today, specifically looking at the NBL Division 1. Topics we'll cover is the season, what's happened, three-point shooting, players to look out for next season, and I'll pick a team to look at more detail who may be a threat come the next season, all being well. So it's fair to say it's been a surreal season this year with so much happening. You had NBL teams beating BBL teams in pre-season. We had some big wins early on, shocking people. A bit of social media meltdown with the BBL Inside and other accounts who brought some interesting analysis and gossip to BBL and NBL Twitter. I say I'll be doing a regular slot here. Thank you to Upstreamedia. We'll have some guests on from players, coaches, other media outlets to discuss anything related to NBL or British basketball. I hope you're well and everything's doing okay. And I say there's so much going on, even with what I mentioned there, and you've also had lots of things going on with NBL teams doing well in the BBL trophy and much more. So to look at the three-point shooting. So people who follow my blog might know that we did a leaderboard for three-point shooting. Obviously, at the end of each season, there's always a heavy rotation of players leaving and new players coming in. But we already know that quite a lot of people who were quite good with three-point shooting last season went back next year. So let's have a look at a bit more detail. So I set the stats up on page. So with three-point shooting this year, there's been a lot of highlights in the NBL. For instance, almost full court buzzer beating shots of Mike Williams, Hemel Storm. You've had buzzer beaters in the NBL live games with Jonathan Lashley getting one over Woven Thunder in the final seconds of the third quarter. And when St. Kettles hosted Bristol Flyers in the semi-final, Ian Smith did a great step back three. So it's definitely one of the more exciting aspects of the season has been the three-point shooting. And I decided to do a leaderboard following a poll on Twitter to decide who is the best three-point shooter. To head to our official site to read the full blog in detail at your own leisure and speed. But one player I would like to bring across is Cameron Hildreth, who was actually 8th in that leaderboard I just mentioned in terms of three-point shooting. I can see him being a bigger threat next year for Woven Thunder as Alex Rumi unfortunately retired this year. He was the leader overall. Sorry for the spoiler, just spoiler alert there. But the young guy was really impressive this season. His average of 20.6 rebounds, 3.1 assists, 1.1 steal, 1.7 blocks was amazing for someone in the first season. No player got better stats than those if North Fields. So he's definitely one to watch next season. His average points was enough to get him to ninth place in the league compared to some rivals. So also to look at maybe the team to watch next year. I think Derby Trailblazers is definitely one to watch. They're one of the more successful sides. I lose it 2 or 3 times in 2020. And they've luckily got Malcolm Smith signed on for 2 years. And he'll be in his second year of his new 2-year contract that he signed at the start of last summer. They're not just a one-man team, and the veteran leads a quite young side who They've been very successful themselves. All 4 players were in another feature I did about the top 100 players in the NBL. We did like an average efficiency. So the efficiency is a combination of stats to analyse who is the best in the league. There are some flaws to it because it's if one player plays 23 games, another player plays 18 on the league's efficiency, they come up a bit higher than maybe someone who's played less games. So we looked at it as average efficiency over the minutes and games played. And 4 of the Derby Trailblazers players got into the top 100, which is quite impressive. You had Jody Campbell, Malcolm Smith, I think the others now, Charlie Brown, and Blake Bauman. So Malcolm Smith probably needs no introduction, as he was one of the league's previous MVPs for the NBL organisation. And when we look at the others, Blake Bauman was the MVP for the EABL, which is the junior league for players. Derby Trailblazers Academy did very well then, with lots of players at individual honours. So Blake did quite well on the all-time scoring list. And Charlie Brown made the shortlist also for his assists. I think it was third. Just check. Yeah, he was third in all-time assists. Both players did very well in the senior team. Charlie Brown was one of the go-to guys actually for assists. So they're going to be very impressed to watch next season. And yeah, definitely they're ones to watch. So going forward in this blog, in terms of the YouTube channel, we're hoping to have players, coaches, officials on, do like light-hearted Q&A, and just get positive discussion going about British basketball, really, because we all got a lot of time on our hands, and let's fill it with some positiveness. Okay. So I want to go back a bit to talk about why this season was so surreal without even mentioning the current outbreak. So and I think that there's a lot of warning signs that this was going to be an amazing season and be out quite early on. And it started in pre-season. So we looked at 3 teams. So like Team Surrey Kestrels, they had a new state-of-the-art facilities, and they impressed very quickly a new home, beating a so scorched side, sending a warning to NBL, BBL teams early doors. But it didn't stop just there. You had Thames Valley Cavaliers, who pushed a very strong Plymouth Rider side on the road and had a narrow 2-point loss. And also Worthing Thunder, who did very well pre-season, beating an Essex Leopards side, who had recently, unfortunately, lost their venue due to being burned down. But like a phoenix rose from the ashes and looks, before the season finished, to have secured an NBL 1 position. But it didn't just stop there. There was more stuff to happen. We had free agency, which I think is probably unheard of in NBL, and also loan players. So there's a lot going on, and the whole of British basketball was united by a certain reality TV show behind Ovi Soko, who returned to London Lions. There's a lot to go on, and in the future episodes, we'll go into more depth those news and other stories as well, because there was a lot to unpack from the season that's just been gone. And we're looking to see what's going to happen to the BBL players step down, like Orland Jackman and Alfisi Dusha, who came down to help Essex Leopards fight towards survival. Who would have known what would happen if the season carried on, but they looked like they were just done enough to survive. And that's your lot. I say to follow us on Rebound at Rebound __ on Twitter, or at Rebound NBL on Facebook and Instagram. That's all for the latest news on NBL, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Any questions and comments? So any questions you might have for future episodes, leave in the comments, and we'll try and do videos to fit the news you'd like to see. Take care. Have a lovely evening.